Let's invoke auspiciousness by remembering our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad. Today especially is a very auspicious day. It's the day the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Gita Jayanti in India. It's very auspicious for us that our class has coincided with this very special. So we have with us here Auntie Neeta, we have Ranjit Das, Aja, Ayush, Divina, Disha Melwani, Divya Budrani, Jagriti, Anjali Karnani, Karuna Jadwani, Khushbu, Lavina, then we have Vivansh, we have Bhumika, Manju, Mehek Bakshani, N.C. Venkatchari, Rajiv Kumar. Then my parents are there. We have Ritu Lalwani, we have Romi, Saket, Venkatesh A, and Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Okay, so what did we see in the previous class?
I just read that Vishwamitra was originally Kshatriya, but later he acted as a Brahman.
Yes.
But Parshuram was Brahman, but he acted as a Kshatriya.
Yes. Correct.
In the last class, we saw that we should, when the mind strays away, we should bring it back.
Krishna says that when the mind strays away, we should bring it back because the nature of the mind is such that it strays away. But Krishna says you have to bring it back. So how do we bring it back?
By chanting.
By chanting. So how do we chant? We chant loudly, we chant silently, quietly. How do we chant?
Loudly.
So why do we chant loudly? What is the purpose of chanting loudly?
Because the name of Krishna is as good as Krishna. It's equal to him.
Yes.
So
Krishna is not different from his name. Okay. But even if it's silently taken, even that name is not different from Krishna.
That
So
you
when
can
you-
concentrate more if you are chanting loudly.
When
Yes.
we chant loudly, we can concentrate more because when we chant loudly, what are we also doing? We are also
You are hearing.
also hearing. Yes, exactly. So we discussed how the sound vibration, when it enters our ears, when we pay attention, when we are attentive to what we are chanting, when we hear what we chant, then automatically we can focus better. So if our mind is wandering away, we chant louder than the mind. If it's wandering even more, then we chant even more loudly, right? We chant louder than the mind, and that way we can bring the mind back. In fact, I have added some slides to my PPT to discuss exactly this. 1 second. Let me. Here, see, because our Nama Acharya is Srila Haridas Thakur. Every day he would chant 300,000 names of God.
Yeah.
And this particular extract from the Chaitanya Bhagavad, Adilila chapter 16, explains why it's important to chant the holy name loudly. So I'll just read this text. The most sinful miscreants were unable to hear this loud chanting because Haridas Thakur would chant loudly and so would the other Vaishnavas. Okay, so the other people were unable to hear this loud chanting. In this regard, there was one impious Brahmana that lived in the village of Harinandi. He once angrily said to Haridas, "Oh Haridas, what is this behavior? Why are you loudly chanting the names of the Lord? The injunction is that one should chant in his mind. Which scripture says that one should chant loudly? Who has taught you to chant the name of Hari loudly? Please give your explanation before this assembly of learned scholars." Haridas said, "You all know the glories of Lord Hari's holy names. Therefore, I have simply repeated and I will repeat whatever I have heard from you. If one chants loudly, one gets 100 times more benefit. The scriptures never condemn loud chanting, rather they glorify it. If one loudly chants the holy names of the Lord, one obtains 100 times more benefit than by chanting softly or remembering the holy names." The Brahmana said, "How does one get 100 times more benefit by loud chanting?" Haridas replied, "My dear sir, listen to the verdict of the Vedas and Srimad Bhagavatam in this regard." Haridas then the purport of all the scriptures as he began his explanation in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. "Listen, my dear Brahmana, if even animals, birds, or insects hear the holy names from the mouth of a pure devotee, they will go to Vaikuntha. Anyone who chants your name purifies all who hear his chanting as well as himself. How much more beneficial then is the touch of your lotus feet? Although animals, birds, and insects cannot chant, when they hear the holy names, they will all be delivered. If one silently chants the names of Krishna, then he is delivered. But if one loudly chants, then he delivers others also. Therefore, the scriptures say that one gets 100 times more benefit by chanting loudly." One who loudly chants the holy names of the Lord is 100 times greater than one who silently chants, because those who chant silently purify only themselves, while those who chant loudly purify themselves as well as those who hear them. So this verse was spoken by Prahlad in the Naradiya Purana. The Puranas say that a person who chants the Lord's holy name loudly is 100 times more pious than a person who chants to himself. O Brahmana, listen carefully to the reason behind this. One who softly chants the holy names liberates only himself. One who loudly chants the names of Govinda, however, liberates himself along with other living entities who hear him. Although all living entities have a tongue, only the human beings are able to chant the names of Krishna. Tell me, what is wrong with that activity by which living entities who have taken useless births will be delivered? One person may maintain himself while another may maintain 1,000 people. Of the two, consider carefully who is better. This is the superior characteristic of loud chanting. So when we chant the holy name loudly, it has 100 times more potency than chanting the name in the mind. Why? Because when we chant loudly, not only are we hearing, but also the other living entities around us are also hearing. Now, we may think that there may be nobody around us if we are alone in a room, but there are always living entities around us which we cannot even see. Even the flies, the mosquitoes, the small ant, or other invisible living entities are always around us. And when they hear the holy name, they also get benefited. So we see how loud chanting is 100 times better. Okay, what else did we see in the previous class?
We saw that Krishna says when the yogi disciplines his mind, he is situated in transcendence. All his material desires do not exist.
Yes, actually throughout this section, Krishna talks about mind control. If you closely see, Krishna focuses very heavily on the importance of controlling the mind in this section. Very nice. Okay, what else?
He's in the yukta stage. So, yeah.
He's in the yukta stage. We will discuss this word yukta further in today's class. Okay, because there are 3 words which means good, better, and best. So we will come back to this at some point in today's class. Okay, what else did we see?
Then he also says that just as a lamp will not waver in a windless place, same way the mind will not get agitated. That is called the samadhi stage.
Yes, the samadhi stage or the last stage of Ashtanga Yoga, where the Ashtanga Yoga is completely fixed up. Yes, very nice.
Here the mind is compared to the flame.
Yes.
And here the material desires are compared to the wind.
Yes.
And the Atma is compared to the steady flame.
Yes, perfect.
Then further he says, Krishna says that when the yogi is successful in samadhi, one can see oneself. Nothing material can give him happiness. He is in the transcendental stage. This is the perfect stage in the Ashtanga Yoga.
Yes. So he's completely disconnected from the externals and he finds happiness within himself. Very nice.
Then we also saw how when he would fall down, the mystic powers they would use. The different types of mystic powers like expanding. Then they could travel from one place to the other. They could predict the future. They could talk about the present. Then at this stage, one can get distracted from their goal.
Yes, exactly.
So that's why this stage is not good actually.
Yes, because he may get distracted and he may fall down. It may cause a fall down for that because it's a side benefit. It's not his goal. See, the goal of Ashtanga Yoga is not to develop mystic powers. The goal of Ashtanga Yoga is to be able to see the Paramatma, to realize the Paramatma. But this is a side benefit. So what happens with the side benefit? Because he's getting these mystic powers, he may get distracted and it cause a fall down. So because these mystic powers are only material, it's not spiritual. So because it's not benefiting him spiritually, therefore it is useless. What is the use of those mystic powers? You may get money, you may get fame, you may get followers, but it will not help you to go back home, back to Godhead. Yes, very nice. Then what is
Then we also saw that he should not be deviated from his path. And then the results are not instant. It requires a lot of patience. That's why it requires determination, faith, and enthusiasm.
Determination, faith, and enthusiasm. This is very, very important. Actually, this is not only for Ashtanga Yogi, but this holds good for any yoga practice. Even in Bhakti Yoga, determination and faith is very, very important. So faith on what?
Faith in the Lord.
Faith in the Lord, faith in the goal, because the Lord is the goal of any yoga process, and also faith in the process itself. We should not lose faith. Okay, sometimes it may take time to see the results, but we have to have faith in the process and also faith in the goal, faith in the Lord. Okay, very nice.
And he has given an example. He has given the example of a sparrow for this determination.
Yes, the sparrow who wanted to dry up the ocean. Very
ocean.
Then what is it?
Then in 6.25, we see that one has to be convinced by the Shastra. There is no question of failure.
Exactly.
The mind will not think of anything else. This is the higher stage.
Yes, perfect.
Then the mind is nischati, becomes agitated, chanchala, that is flickering, and unsteady. That the mind will think something else. It's flickering because it's flickering, and it's very difficult to control the mind.
Okay.
Then in 6.20, from 6.26, I have jumped directly to 6.29. I've missed out those 3 verses.
Okay.
The yogi has realized the Paramatma. He has realized the Paramatma, and he can see in every living entity. He can realize the super soul is present in every living entity.
Yes.
So he knows that he is not different from the super soul. He's as equal to him. And then one who has the vision, then in 6.30 we see that one who has a vision, he's never lost, he never falls down, he has attained success.
Okay.
He engages in the service of the super soul. He realizes he and the super soul are the same personality.
Who and super soul are the same?
The living entity and the super soul.
No, Krishna and the super soul. Here Krishna is speaking. So super soul and Krishna are the same.
So it's the soul and the super soul, right?
No. Super soul and Krishna are one, are the same.
Yeah, the same.
Yes.
So it's the super soul and who are same?
And Krishna.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Then
he engages in the service of the super soul. He realizes he and the super soul are the same personality. He sees the same super soul in all living beings as equal, both in happiness and in distress.
yes, perfect.
Then when he remembers, he is happy. When he remembers the Lord, he is happy. But when he forgets him, he is in distress.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
when he comes to distress, and when he remembers the Lord, he is happy.
Okay, very nice.
And it's then Arjuna is not in favor of Ashtanga Yoga. He's telling Krishna it's impractical because the mind is not steady and restless. So it is very difficult to control the mind. It's maybe possible to control the wind at a time, but to control the mind is even difficult.
Perfect.
So this is the question he's putting to Krishna after listening all what Krishna has spoken about the mind.
Okay, very nice. Then anybody else has anything to add?
Very beautiful explanation, Mataji, Divya Mataji. Oh my God, amazing.
Also, the mind is very flickering, agitating, and obstinate.
Yes.
It's chanchalam.
Yes.
So that's why Arjuna says that it's very difficult to control the mind.
Yes.
And then there is a comparison of the body with the driver, the passenger, and the horses, which I've not written it properly over here, but it's just for me to understand. But I cannot explain it properly over here.
Okay.
That's the last thing I've noted down.
Okay. So if we observe, see, Krishna, when he explains Ashtanga Yoga, he has focused very heavily on the very important aspect of mind control in Ashtanga Yoga. And if you see, Krishna has not rejected this system yet. He will establish the superiority of Bhakti Yoga in the last verse of this chapter, which we will see today, if Krishna so sanctions. But what we have seen in all these verses, Krishna has very expertly explained Ashtanga Yoga by focusing heavily on the importance of mind control. Now, if you remember, Arjuna wanted to not fight and go to the battlefield, right? He wanted to engage in austerity. He wanted to engage in, he wanted to renounce everything, and he was willing to live by begging and live in the forest. So what Krishna has very expertly done here actually is that he has made Arjuna himself accept that this Ashtanga Yoga is not practical. Krishna didn't say that it is impractical. Arjuna says that it is impractical. So by focusing so heavily on mind control, Krishna has made Arjuna come to the conclusion himself that yes, this process is impractical. This is the expertise of Krishna. Because if you see Arjuna, one may question, is Arjuna qualified to go to the forest? You can say yes, physically he is qualified because he was actually born and raised in the forest. He was Pandu was on a vacation. He was not in the kingdom. He was not in the royal palace. Pandu was on a vacation, and at that time he passed away, and then Kunti and Madri conceived these 5 children in the forest. So Arjuna was actually born and raised in the forest. And then during his exile period of 13 years also, he has lived a forest life only. And he has also done tapasya before the war in order to get these celestial weapons. Arjuna has got celestial weapons, and actually he has the weapon to control the wind. That the weapon to control the wind is there in Arjuna's kitty of weapons. So he does have the weapon to control the wind. So physically, yes, Arjuna is definitely qualified for Ashtanga Yoga. But Arjuna himself realizes that mentally he is not qualified because he just had this mental breakdown in the battlefield when he told Krishna, take my chariot between the two parties. And he became overwhelmed when he saw his teachers, his relatives, his grandfather on the opposite side. He has got completely overwhelmed with emotions. So he has had this terrible mental breakdown. And therefore, Arjuna says that mentally he is not qualified for Ashtanga Yoga. And Krishna has focused so heavily on mind control in this section, which is definitely a very, very important factor in Ashtanga Yoga. Therefore, Krishna very expertly has made Arjuna himself accept that yes, this Ashtanga Yoga is impractical and unendurable. And therefore, Arjuna is saying that I can control the wind because he does have that weapon to control the wind, but it's not possible to control the mind. See, that's the genius of Krishna. Now, I added one more slide for one of the verses in the previous class. See here, when Krishna talks about determination, there are two things that he focuses on. One is determination and the other is faith. So here we see Prahlad. Prahlad was attacked in many ways, but he had complete faith in the Lord, and the Lord never failed him. He always protected him. And also determination. These are two very, very important factors. And with regard to this, there is this very nice quote by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. And he says, do not give up devotional service, even if there are innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassment. This is one quote that I personally derive a lot of inspiration from. Do not give up devotional service, even if there are innumerable dangers. Because Maya is not going to play nice. So she is going to come up with so many situations also that may appear dangerous also for us to give up devotional service, for us to give up our chanting. And countless insults. There are always going to be people who are going to insult us, make fun of us, say that you are stupid, you are foolish, you are fanatic. Why are you sacrificing so much? Just enjoy life. Everybody is going to die. Even the devotee, whether you chant or you don't chant, everybody has to die anyway. So there are going to be people who are going to ridicule us, insult us. And there are also going to be people who are going to harass us, just like Prahlad was harassed by his own father. But no matter what, do not give up devotional service. Remain determined and have the faith. These two are very, very important factors in any yoga system, not only Ashtanga yoga, but any yoga system. These two are very, very important factors. Very, very important lesson for us. See, with regard to this, coming back to Sri Haridas Thakur, who is our Nama Acharya. Actually, Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family, but he, on the strength of his devotional service, he rose to the level of being the Nama Acharya, the one who perfectly exemplifies how to chant the holy name of the Lord. So, that time there was a Muslim ruler. This is some 500 years ago. India had Muslim rulers. And the Muslim ruler had a problem with Haridas Thakur chanting the holy name of Krishna. He used to chant 300,000 names of God. So day in and day out, he would be chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And at that time, the king told him that if you don't chant this, if you don't stop chanting the holy name, then you will have to face the consequences. And that time he said that even if you cut my body into pieces and I give up my life, I will never stop chanting Lord Hari's holy name. So at that time, the ruler, he ordered his guards to whip Haridas Thakur in 22 marketplaces. Now, if one is whipped like that so mercilessly in 2 or 3 places itself, he will be finished. He will have to face death. But Haridas Thakur was whipped in 22 marketplaces. And still, he did not die. And finally, the guards told Haridas Thakur that if you don't die, then the king is going to kill us. So therefore, Haridas Thakur, out of compassion for the very people who are whipping him so mercilessly, he entered into samadhi. And in that samadhi state, even the breathing cannot be, it's not obvious to an onlooker. Okay, so the guards thought that he is dead. Finally, he is dead. And then they told the king that now he is dead. And therefore, then the ruler said that do not bury him because he does not even deserve a higher destination. Just throw his body in the Ganges river so that he doesn't get a higher destination. So then they threw him in the river. And then he floated across and then he walked. When he reached the banks of the river, he just walked away, Haridas Thakur. And then when the king came to know that Haridas Thakur is actually still alive, then he realized that Haridas Thakur is not an ordinary personality and he's actually empowered. And then he asked for forgiveness from Haridas Thakur. So you see, Haridas Thakur did not give up the chanting of the holy name, even though he was so mercilessly whipped. Now, one may ask that why did the Lord allow Haridas Thakur to undergo such excruciating pain of being whipped in 22 marketplaces? And so later this question is answered. If you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya reveals in one pastime he reveals to Haridas Thakur later that that day I had appeared there and I was protecting you. So you did not receive those, they were not actually whipping you, they were actually whipping me. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows the marks on his back. The whip marks were there on the back of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So actually Haridas Thakur did not feel any pain also when he was whipped in 22 marketplaces. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells that, this is there in the Chaitanya Bhagavad. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells that I wanted to invoke the Sudarshan Chakra and immediately kill all these people who are whipping you. But because of you, I was not able to do that. So Haridas Thakur is that personality who even defeated the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord. Now, why was he not able to use the Sudarshan Chakra? Because of Haridas Thakur. Who can say? What do you think has happened?
Pardon, what is the question again?
See, I said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, said that he wanted to kill all these miscreants who were whipping Haridas Thakur by the Sudarshan Chakra. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that I was not able to use the Sudarshan Chakra because of you. He's telling this to Haridas Thakur. So why is it that because of Haridas Thakur, he was not able to use the Sudarshan Chakra on those people who were whipping him? What could be the reason?
Because he
What
was
is the
just
nature of a Vaishnava?
Because he was merciful.
Who
Being
is
a devotee,
merciful?
was merciful.
Who is merciful?
Haridas Thakur.
Because Haridas Thakur is
forgave.
merciful towards, see, a Vaishnava by nature is merciful to all the living entities. And Haridas Thakur was merciful even to these people who are whipping him so mercilessly. So Haridas Thakur was actually praying that, oh my dear Lord, please forgive them for what they are doing. So because Haridas Thakur was praying for the well-being of these people who are whipping him, Lord Chaitanya was not even able to use a Sudarshan Chakra. See the nature of a Vaishnava. He not only thinks about his own well-being, but he thinks about the well-being of all the other living entities as well. That's why Vaishnavas are called as desire trees. We say no vancha kalpataruvyascha. So Vaishnavas are desire trees. Because the Lord wants to fulfill the desire of a Vaishnava, therefore they are called as desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of other living entities. Okay.
Mataji, can I ask you a question on the slide of the 4 horses and the 5 senses? That slide that just, this slide right here. So the everything that it says, is it like body, chariot, intelligence, driver, mind, driving instrument, senses, horses? This is done correctly?
This is what?
It is written correctly?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know, because Divya Mataji said that I can't explain this because it written here, not something like that. She said.
Okay, but it's there on your screen and this is correct.
Okay, thanks. That's all I want.
Okay, so when when Arjuna tells that it's this mind, this process of Ashtanga Yoga is impractical, that I can control the wind, but I cannot control the mind. At that time, Krishna says that you can curb the mind by 2 things. What are the 2 things?
By practice and vairagya.
By practice and detachment, isn't it? Abhyasa and vairagya, practice and detachment. So what we have to practice?
If you
We
want
have
to be
to practice.
successful,
We have to practice detachment, and attachment to Krishna's service, and detachment to modern material activities, like in order to achieve the advancement in spiritual life. Like
So detachment Krishna has put separately, okay, and suitable practice. So as Sri Hari Radha Mataji said, we have to practice attachment. How do we practice attachment? By engaging
In the
devotional service, by giving all our
by engaging in devotional service. So we discussed previously how there are 9 items of devotional service. We have mentioned these 9 items many times. but I thought that we should put it into a slide. So here you have the 9 items of devotional service. You can find this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is spoken by Prahlad. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasam Sakham and Atma Nivedanam. So I thought I just put this in the slide. Now say this quote by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada once said, as recounted as a shortest japa workshop by one of his close disciples when asked what to do with the distracted mind, that there is a mouth which chants and the ears which hear. There is no question of the mind. In other words, chanting is as simple as chanting and hearing what one chants. So if you just hear what you are chanting, then automatically there is no question of getting distracted. We have to hear what we are chanting. So that is the only method, that you chant loudly and hear Hare Krishna.
Okay.
See here in this quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. So sometimes people say that Bhagavan kahan hai? Where is the Lord? There is so much of injustice, so much of sinful activities going on. Where is the Lord? Bhagavan kahan hai? You know, the Lord does not exist. But then, yes, the Lord is existing. In the Kali Yuga, he is existing in the form of his holy name. When we chant the holy name, Krishna does exist. Krishna dances on your tongue when you chant the holy name. So simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. So this quote is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. See, this is a song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he says, Jeev Jago, Gaura Chanda Bole. So Jeev Jago means wake up, O sleeping souls. So he says, Lord Gauranga is calling, wake up, sleeping souls. Wake up, sleeping souls. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? See, if somebody is sleeping, then in order to wake him up, you need some kind of sound vibration. Either you wake him up by calling him out, or he keeps an alarm. So with this sound vibration, this person can get up. So in the same way, for us to wake up from the sleep of ignorance, to come out of that ignorance, we also need that sound vibration to wake up. So how will the sleeping souls wake up? By the sound vibration of the holy name. So therefore, we chant loudly. As Haridas Thakur said, that when you chant loudly, that benefit is 100 times greater. Okay, we'll start today's session. Did I skip? Yeah, from 37 onwards, you have to start. Okay, who can read today?
Mataji, can I read?
Yes, Sri Hari Radha Mataji. Thank you.
Shall I start?
No, we have to listen to the shloka first. 37.
Arjuna uvacha ayatihi shraddhayopeto yogachalita manasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati.
Arjun said, what is the destination of a man of faith who does not preserve, who is in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization, but who later desires to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?
Okay, so you have skipped some words while you were reading. Are you reading from the screen, or where are you reading from, Mataji?
I was reading from my book. Okay, so Arjun said, "O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?"
So
Hare
now
Krishna.
Arjuna is speaking. So Arjuna has now a question. What is Arjuna's question? He's saying he wants to know, okay, what is the destination of someone who takes to the path of self-realization? So he's not only asking for Ashtanga Yoga, he's talking about any yoga practice in general. Arjuna is saying, what is the fate? What happens to somebody who takes to the process of self-realization with faith. Okay, so he is sincere and he has taken to the process with faith. It's not that he's cheating, it's not that he's bogus, right? He is taken to the process with faith. But for some reason, due to worldly mindedness, or in other words, the mind has distracted him. So for some reason, he has got distracted. His mind has got distracted, and therefore he does not attain perfection in mysticism. So Arjuna's question is, what if somebody starts off a process of self-realization with faith, with sincerity, but has got distracted by the mind and is not able to attain perfection? Then what happens to that person? He further clarifies his question in the next verse.
कच्चिन्नो भयविभ्रष्टः छिन्नाभ्रमिव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणः पथि.
O mighty arm, Krishna does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence, far away from both spiritual and material success, and perish like a river cloud with no position in any sphere. Hare Krishna.
So Arjuna is clarifying his question further, and he's saying that what happens because such a person, he has fallen away from both spiritual and material success. Why? Because spiritually, he was on the path with faith, but he got distracted by the mind, right? So he has fallen away from the spiritual, and he has also fallen away from the material. Why? Because he has taken to spirituality, he has taken to the path of self-realization. So therefore, now he cannot even materially enjoy. So he's fallen away from both material and spiritual. So what happens then now? What happens to him? Does he perish like a riven cloud? Riven cloud means a cloud that has broken away from a big cloud and is just being swayed away by the wind. So that because it has broken away from that big cloud, it has no, is just moving here and there by the direction of the wind. So what happens to such a person? Because he has fallen away from both spiritual and material.
एतन्मे संशयं कृष्ण छेतुमर्हस्य शेषतः त्वदन्यः संशयस्यास्य छेत्ता न ह्युपपद्यते.
This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Hare Krishna.
So Arjuna is saying that other than you, nobody else can destroy this doubt. Why?
Because Krishna is all-knowing, future, present, and past, and also because he is God, and he knows everything and everyone, and he lives in everybody.
Yes, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So who better than Krishna himself to answer this question, right? And Krishna knows past, present, and future. Mahabaho, what does that name mean?
Mighty arm.
Mighty arm. Was that name here or no? Or it was in the previous verse?
No. It was in the previous.
Previous verse, yes. Mahabaho is here in 38. Where is it?
Starting. Oh, mighty arm Krishna.
Yeah, Mahabaho.
Yes. Mahabaho.
So whose name is Mahabaho?
Krishna.
Krishna's name.
Krishna's name is Mahabaho. Arjuna's name also is Mahabaho.
Also is, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. In Bhagavad Gita, you'll say Arjuna also is referred to as Mahabaho and Krishna also is referred to as Mahabaho. So it is named for. But here, it is Krishna's name. Okay, let's go to 40.
Shri Bhagavanuvach Partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gacchati.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Partha, a transcendentalist engaged in substitute activities does not meet with destruction, either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. Hare Krishna.
So Arjuna's name is what? Here in this verse. He's referred to as
Partha, son of
Partha.
son of
Son of Partha.
no, not son of Partha. Partha is Arjuna. Son of Pritha. Pritha is the name of Queen Kunti. Okay, so he is son of Pritha, and therefore Arjuna is called as Partha. If you say son of Partha, then you are referring to Arjuna's son. You're not referring to Arjuna. Okay, so we have to be careful of our pronunciations. So he is called the son of Pritha or Partha. Okay, so Krishna is now answering Arjuna's question, and what is he saying that if a transcendentalist is engaged in auspicious activities, he is not going to be destroyed neither in this material world nor in the spiritual world. If you do good, then one is never overcome by evil. Now one has to understand what do you mean by auspicious activity. What does it mean to do good? Because this is something that is very greatly misunderstood in the modern times. Many times we hear that I am good, I don't hurt anyone, I don't cheat anyone, so everything is fine. Is that good enough?
No.
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 What is auspicious activity? What really means good activity? So you can divide. Srila Prabhupada explains this very nicely in the purport that you can divide the entire world population into two. What are the two categories? Those who follow Shastra, those who do not follow Shastra. If you follow Shastra, it's auspicious, you're good. If you're not following Shastra, that is inauspicious, that is not good, that is evil. That's all. You may be a good human being. You may be doing a lot of social services, open old age homes, hospitals. You may be doing, you may be helping people. Maybe you have never cheated anyone. You may have earned a lot of money with very honest means. So you think that this is good. But if you're not following Shastra, if you're engaged in meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling, then it's not auspicious. See, we'll read this from the purport. The purport may be understood as follows. Humanity may be divided into two sections, namely the regulated and the non-regulated. Those who are engaged simply in bestial sense gratifications without knowledge of the next life or spiritual salvation belong to the non-regulated section. And those who follow the principles of prescribed duties in the scriptures are classified among the regulated section. The non-regulated section, both civilized and non-civilized, educated and non-educated, strong and weak, are full of animal propensities. Their activities are never auspicious because while enjoying the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, they perpetually remain in material existence, which is always miserable. On the other hand, those who are regulated by scriptural injunctions and those who rise gradually to Krishna consciousness certainly progress in life. So it doesn't matter. One may be very highly educated. One may be very strong physically, politically, emotionally, mentally. One may be very highly civilized, very well dressed, very well, may speak very nicely, may be able to give a public speech in front of 10,000 people. It does not matter. If you are not following the regulations of the scriptures, then you are not auspicious. Now coming to followers of the path of auspiciousness. Now followers of the path of auspiciousness can be divided into three sections. Srila Prabhupada explains. What are these three sections? One is followers of scriptural rules and regulations for enjoying material prosperity. So yes, they are following Shastra, but their goal is to enjoy material prosperity. So it's like, okay, I do some austerity, I go to the temple, but I want something in return. Or I do a yagya, but I do the yagya because I want to have a child, or I want to be materially prosperous, or whatever reason. Okay. So within the injunction of the Shastra, everything is done in a Shastric way, but for enjoying material prosperity. Now that is also of two types. One is the fruitive workers. So they may be fruitive workers, means expecting something in return. So what happens to them? Because they are working under the injunctions of the Shastra, they can be elevated to higher planets. So they go to higher planetary systems. They can go to Swarga. But because because they are not free from material existence, they are not truly following the auspicious path. So, because even the higher planetary systems, even Swarga is still in the material world, but they are going to the higher planetary system because they are following the injunctions of the Shastra. But because they are not putting the Lord in the center, their mentality is, I want to enjoy. Therefore, they can go to the higher planetary systems to enjoy, but they cannot transcend the material world and go to the spiritual world, which is beyond even the Swarga Loka or Brahma Loka. Vaikuntha or Goloka is even beyond these 14 planetary systems of the material world. And B, those who desire no fruit for sense gratification. So yes, they are engaged in activities, but they do not have any fruit for sense. So these are the Nishkama Karma Yogis. They have no desire for fruit gratification, for sense gratification, but they are still attached to their service. How to serve Krishna? So they want to serve the Krishna in a particular way. Then follows of the path of auspiciousness. The second category is seekers of ultimate liberation from material existence. So those who are engaging in dhyana yoga, their goal is bhakti. Their goal is mukti, not bhakti, but mukti. They want to get liberated from material existence. And third category is devotees in Krishna consciousness. A devotee in Krishna consciousness, he does not even want mukti. He only wants to serve the Lord, because love for Krishna means service. Love means service. So all they want is they want to serve the Lord. So they do not even want mukti. All they want is bhakti. So the only auspicious activity in real sense is that which leads one to liberation. Any activity not aimed at ultimate self-realization or liberation from material body concept is inauspicious. So all these are auspicious because all this is within the framework of the Shastra. Anything that is without a Shastric injunction, that is inauspicious activity. See this very nice shloka. Sukadeva Goswami is speaking this from the Srimad Bhagavatam. He's saying, my dear king, who is this king? Whom did he speak to Srimad Bhagavatam to?
Parikshit Raja.
Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit is the son of?
Vyasadev.
No.
Abhimanyu.
Yes.
Abhimanyu, yes.
Maharaj Parikshit is the son of Abhimanyu. Very nice. And the grandson of Arjuna. Who is the son of Vyasadev in this?
Sukdev. Sorry, I was thinking about Sukdev in my mind when I said that.
Okay. Okay, so Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is able to uproot even the reactions of the greatest sins. Therefore, the chanting of the Sankirtan movement is the most auspicious activity in the entire universe. So talking about auspiciousness, what is the most auspicious activity in the entire universe? It's the chanting of the holy name. Who says this? None other than Sukadeva Goswami. So he says, please try to understand this so that others will take it seriously. It's Jagan Mangalam. Jagan Mangalam. It is the most auspicious. The Sankirtan is the most auspicious activity in the entire universe. So let's not take it for granted. Chant the holy name. Sukadeva Goswami is one of the 12 Mahajans actually. He's one of the 12 authorities on the science of God. He's that personality who perfectly understands Shastra. So Sukadeva Goswami is one of the 12 Mahajans. And he says that chanting is the most auspicious activity in the entire universe. Okay, let's go to 41.
Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati samaha Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Bhijayate.
The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Hare Krishna.
So remember Arjuna's question. Arjuna's question is, what happens to that person who has taken to the path of self-realization, but he gets distracted and he's not able to achieve success? So this is what Krishna is answering. So now the unsuccessful yogi is divided into two categories. One who falls after short period of practice and one who falls after long, prolonged periods of practice. Okay, so there are two categories. Here Krishna is talking about the unsuccessful yogi who falls down after a short period of practice. What happens to such a person? They go to the planets of the pious living entities, or in other words, they go to heaven. They go to Swarga. And there in Swarga, they enjoy for many, many years, for a very long extended period of time, they are able to enjoy in heaven. And then what happens? Then he takes birth into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy.
Aristocracy.
So either he is born in a very rich family or he is born in a devotee family after he enjoys for a long period in heaven. Now, why is it that he is allowed to enjoy in heaven and then he is given this birth in a rich family or in a devotee family?
Because he's very pious, because he has done devotional service, but though he fell down, but the knowledge is still there. The gyan, the bhakti that he acquired through the process of doing devotional service, that's still there. He has done pious activities. If once chanted Krishna's name, or if once engaged in Krishna's service, that's a humongous thing. That shows that one's mind is in the right engagement, in the right process for the liberation. So he's done that, even though after that he has fallen down because of bad association or whatever the process is.
Okay, very nice. Now, why did he fall down?
Because of mindedness, worldly mindedness.
Worldly mindedness, isn't it? So his desire, somewhere he got distracted. So somewhere his desire was to enjoy. So therefore he is given that facility to enjoy. Where? In the heavenly planets. For how long? For many, many years of enjoyment, Krishna says. But at the same time, he was also on the path of self-realization. So because he was also on the path of self-realization, he's given an opportunity to continue from where he left off. How? By giving him that situation where he can follow that path of self-realization. So when one is born in a family of righteous people, or if one is born in a devotee family, how does that one help to continue in the path of self-realization?
It leads you again to the devotional service of bhakti. It leads you in the engagement of the mind, absorbed in the engagement, because devotees only engage in devotional service. So when a child is born or a body is born into their family, what happens? They pick up from where they left off, and also because of their family help and assistance in serving the Lordship, so that he sees with his senses and he picks up that and he learns it, and then he as well engages in that process again. He's reviving his back consciousness, and then his family is helping him to progress forward in going forward.
Yes, so taking birth in a devotee family means you are raised in with those principles wherein you are following the injunctions of the Shastra. And being born in a rich family, how does that one help follow the path of self-realization?
Because in a rich family, if someone has taken a birth who has left off his devotional service in the past life, then he has no more hankering, because he has the money part already in his family, and so he doesn't have to suffer because of poverty or because of in want of something else. He has everything. Krishna has given him everything. Now all he has to do is progress and advance and engage his mind and his activities in devotional service. So Krishna has already provided everything for him. That's his mercy. So through his mercy, he has provided richness to him. So he doesn't have to struggle if he's poverty stricken or if he's wanting something, So he has provided that main course for him. He doesn't have to hanker to it.
Okay, perfect. Very nice. So when you're born in a rich family, it helps you continue in the path of self-realization, because you don't have to struggle to make ends meet. You have a very comfortable material life, so you can focus on your spiritual life. And also born in a devotee family, because you're raised in that environment, it also helps you continue the path of self-realization. Remember, here Krishna is not exclusively talking about Bhakti Yoga. He's talking generally of anybody who's on the path of transcendence. Yeah, Vivansh, you have your hand raised. You have a doubt? You have a question?
Yes, I do. What does aristocracy mean?
Rich aristocracy means he's born in a rich family, opulent family.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask you a question as well?
Yes.
We talked about, I think, he's being born in a family of devotees, right? So does that include acharyas also? Like when it says that you're going to be born in your next life in a devotees family, does that also include like a devotees family, meaning like elevated devotees and acharyas and saints?
No, not here. Not in verse 41. Krishna is not talking about elevated devotees. He's only talking about righteous people. So devotees. He's going to talk about elevated devotees and acharyas in next verse. In 42, that's coming up. So let's see.
Thank you.
अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरम् लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्.
Or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world. Hare Krishna.
So we discussed there are two kinds of unsuccessful yogis, those who fall after a short practice and those who fall after long practice. In 41, Krishna said those who fall after a short practice, they enjoy in heavenly planets for a long period of time, and then they take birth in a devotee family or in a aristocratic family. Now, if somebody has fallen after a long practice of yoga, then what is their destination? He takes birth in a family of transcendentalists. So here Krishna is talking about very, very elevated devotees like acharyas or Goswamis who have their minds completely under control, pure devotees. So if one falls after a long practice of yoga, then he takes birth in the family of a transcendentalist who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world. I mean, to be born in the family of a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that how he himself had and his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they took birth in transcendentalist family. They had the good fortune of taking birth in such transcendentalist family, and therefore they were able to, they were raised in that environment. 43.
तत्र तं बुद्धिसंयोगं लभते पौर्वदेहिकं यतते च ततो भूयः संसिद्धौ कुरु नन्दन.
On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kura. Hare Krishna.
So then what happens upon taking such a birth? He revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. So when he takes that birth in the family of a transcendentalist, that person who fell down after a long practice of yoga, he can revive the divine consciousness of his previous life. So it's coming from the previous body. See this. Paurva Dehikam, from the previous body. So whatever was left incomplete in the previous body, he can complete it by taking the birth in such a family. Now see, coming back to what Srila Prabhupada says in the previous purport, that he and his spiritual master, they took birth in such transcendentalist families. But we must understand that doesn't mean now, of course, Srila Prabhupada is saying that out of humility, but not necessary that every pure devotee who's walking on this planet is here because he was unsuccessful in the previous lifetime. This point we must always remember. There are pure devotees also who are walking this planet because they desire to serve. They desire to preach. They desire to carry out the mission of the Lord. A pure devotee deserves definitely to stay in the spiritual world, but Krishna wants him to go out on a mission and preach, or the devotee himself has a desire to come and preach and revive the lost consciousness of the fallen conditioned souls. So therefore they decide out of their own free will to come and preach to the fallen conditioned souls. Okay, so we should not mistake Srila Prabhupada to be, we should not think that he was somebody who was unsuccessful in his previous life, therefore he took birth in the family of a transcendent. That's not the Prabhupada says that in the pulpit, but that is out of humility. But we should not understand it that way. Otherwise, we will end up committing Vaishnava aparadha.
But as you said that people who made very little small devotional service, they go for many years in the heaven.
Yes.
And the like guru, like acharyas and all, they don't go to heaven, or they come directly after the second birth, means they come straight to transcendental form, or in the transcendental families, or
yeah, so
they go
they
to
don't
heaven?
have to waste their time in heaven. They directly take birth in the family of a transcendental. So they don't waste their time in heavenly planets. They don't have to go through that path.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
see, in 42, Krishna directly says that he takes birth after long practice of yoga, he takes birth in family of transcendental. So he doesn't have to go to heaven and waste time over there. Because that's not what was, because he practiced yoga for such a long period, no? So the focus more was on self-realization. The focus was not so much on enjoyment. But if somebody fell after a short practice, so the focus was less on self-realization and more on enjoyment. So therefore, he goes to heaven for an extended period of time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. 44.
Hare Krishna Mataji, 1 minute. So the yogi that falls down after a great long process, then he takes birth in transcendentals and acharyas
Yes.
in the families. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Hare.
पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव क्रियते ह्यवशोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्दब्रह्माति वर्तते.
By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of these scriptures. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna continues. He says that by virtue of divine consciousness of his previous life, right? So Purva Abhyasena, Abhyasa, whatever he has practiced in his Purva, in his previous lifetime. So because of the practices of his previous lifetime, now in this lifetime, he is attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. So he has a natural attraction. That's why you'll see some children, they naturally have an attraction towards spirituality, right? It's because they are carrying on from the practices of the previous lifetime. And some children are very demoniac by nature, very wild, very violent, always screaming and shouting. That's also again because they are bringing it from the previous lifetime. So Krishna is saying Purva Abhyasena. By the virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he is attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So he's above the Karma Kanda. Remember Karma Kanda section of the Vedas? Where Karma Kanda means what? Yes, there are different rituals given in the Shastra for fulfilling different materialistic desires. If I want a good husband, I have to pray to Lord. I have to pray to Goddess Durga. If one wants a good wife, then one prays to Lord Shiva. If one wants good health, one prays to Lord Shiva. If one wants wealth, one prays to Goddess Lakshmi. A student before exams goes to Goddess Saraswati. So like that, these are all ritualistic principles of the scriptures. This is not coming from bhakti. This is not out of natural attraction to the Lord. This is because I want something in return. So this is called as karma kanda. So such people who have fallen down after a long practice of yoga, they always stand above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. They don't have to go through the karma kanda section in order to advance in their spiritual life. They are above the ritualistic principles. So see this again, abhyasa. Previously we saw now Krishna said that you can control the mind by practice. So those practices, that abhyasa is also we are carrying on to the next life. See, mind works in a mechanical way. The mind, how does the mind function? The mind functions by habits. And how do we develop those habits? By practicing those habits. So every day, if we practice to get up early in the morning and chant our rounds, it will become a practice for us. So then the mind works. Okay, the mind now is trained up because of those practices. And therefore now the mind works mechanically. Okay, so this abhyasa practice is what Krishna is speaking of again here. See this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if born in the family of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your lordship, they must have bathed at the holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything else required. So this quote is by Devahuti. She's speaking to Lord Kapila Dev, who's none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So she's saying that anybody who chants the holy name, doesn't matter, even if they are born in a dog-eating family, they are worshipable. And they have, if one is chanting, then it is considered that everything else they have already done. They have already taken bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. They have already studied the Vedas, and they have already fulfilled everything else that is required. That's why Krishna is saying here that such people are above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Why? Because one who is chanting, it's considered that he has already done all these other things. So naturally, he's above the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. 45.
प्रयत्नाद्यतमानस्तु योगी संशुद्ध किल्बिषः अनेकजन्म संसिद्धः ततो याति परां गतिम्.
And when the yogi engages himself in the sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection, after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Hare Krishna.
So how can a yogi attain perfection? Krishna says, you have to sincerely endeavor. You have to try, you have to endeavor, and you have to endeavor with all sincerity. And when you endeavor with all sincerity, you are washed of all the contaminations. When there are no more contaminations, then you can achieve perfection. But this takes many, many births of practice. Many, many births of practice. When one progresses, remember the yoga ladder, when one progresses from the lower to the higher stage, all that is not going to be finished in one birth. It's going to take many, many births of practice. Then he attains Param Gatim. Then he attains the supreme goal. But in the next class, we will see an express ladder. The yoga ladder that we saw previously is the traditional ladder, which takes many, many births. But there is also an express elevator that can very quickly take us to perfection, that we will see in the next class. But for now, let's finish up this chapter, the last two verses. Let's see what Krishna says in 46.
तपस्विभ्योऽधिको योगी ज्ञानिभ्योऽपि मतोऽधिकः कर्मिभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्माद्योगी भवार्जुन.
A yogi is greater than the aesthetic, greater than the empiricist, yeah, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna is saying, be a yogi. Now, what does the name yoga mean? Who is a yogi? The word yoga means to unite with the Lord, right? To be in accordance with the Lord's desires, right? I don't have any other desire independent of the Lord's desire. So yogi means to be united with the Lord. And so therefore here a yogi can refer to any yogi. It can be a karma yogi, it can be a jnana yogi, it can be a dhyana yogi, or it can be a bhakti yogi. So Krishna is saying a yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Now ascetic means a dhyani. He is not a dhyana yogi, but he's only a dhyani. So if one is engaged in tapasya, but he is not, his tapasya is not in order to realize the Lord, then he is not, then he is considered inferior. Okay, so if you are not just a jnani but a jnana yogi, then you are superior. So yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, or empiricist means or one who has empirical knowledge. Empirical knowledge means the knowledge that we get from our senses. Okay, so one should not just be a jnani, but one should be a jnana yogi. An example of empirical knowledge is, let's say, if a child tries many ways to walk. Yes, and then finally he comes to the conclusion that if I walk in this way, this is the way I can walk without falling down, right? He tries many ways and he falls down, he tries, he falls. Finally, he is able to walk after getting this. So the knowledge that you acquire from your senses, that is called as empirical knowledge. So a jnana yogi is greater than a jnani, and greater than the fruitive worker. So a karma yogi is greater than a karmi. A karma yogi is someone who does work with some tinge of devotion, right? Karma yogi. The word yoga is there because there is some tinge of devotion. Not it's not pure devotion, but some element of bhakti, some element of devotion is there. But if one is doing fruitive work, if one is just a karmi, just working without any tinge of devotion, then he is only a karmi, he is not a karma yogi. Okay, if somebody is he's digging wells, building roads, opening hospitals, it's only being a karmi. Prabhupada says that one may be very busy in his office, whole time he's working on his laptop or with his books, and he's working, and whole day he's busy there. So he's only a karmi, he's not a karma yogi, because there is no tinge of devotion, there is no tinge of bhakti. So what is the use of that kind of work? He will probably just take a break and have a sandwich and then again go back to his work. So what is the use of that life? Again, you're going to be born as cats and dogs. So what is the use of being a karmi? So instead of being a karmi, a karma yogi is better. So a yogi is greater than a tapasvi, a jnani, or a karmi. Therefore, Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Whatever you do, whatever yoga system you're following, but follow some yoga system, Krishna is saying here. So far, Krishna has not established the superiority of bhakti. This he's going to do in the last verse of the chapter. See here, Srila Prabhupada explains the purport. Yoga is defined as the linking process. One second. Yoga is defined as a linking consciousness to the supreme absolute. Yoga is named differently according to different methods adopted. If linking process is predominantly fruitive acts, if you are trying to link with the Lord by your actions, then it is called karma yoga. Otherwise, it is just karma. Okay. If linking process is predominantly empirical means, as I explained, empirical knowledge is that knowledge which we derive from our senses. If linking process is predominantly empirical, it is called jnana yoga, because you're trying to link with the Lord with your knowledge. If linking process is predominantly devotional, then it is called bhakti yoga. But bhakti yoga is the ultimate perfection of yoga. Anything short of that is imperfect. How? Srila Prabhupada explains. Asceticism without self-knowledge is imperfect. If one is doing some tapasya, if one is a tapasvi, but without the knowledge that actually I belong to the Lord's superior marginal energy, if he doesn't know that I am a part and parcel of the Lord, then that tapasvi is imperfect. Now, empirical knowledge without surrender to the Supreme Lord is also imperfect. What is the use of having derived a lot of knowledge, but if you're not able to surrender to the Lord? One may even, this knowledge can be material or it can also be spiritual. Okay, empirical knowledge may be material or spiritual. Now, even if one has the knowledge, theoretically one has the knowledge that I am the servant of the Lord, but still, if I don't surrender to the Lord, then that is also imperfect. And fruitive work without Krishna consciousness is a waste of time, Srila Prabhupada says. What is the use of someone who is doing a karmi? He's working like cats and dogs. But what is the use of that? Because he's only wasting his time. He's again going to be born as cats and dogs. So therefore, the most highly praised form of yoga performance mentioned here is Bhakti Yoga. Now, Krishna is going to establish exactly that in the last verse of the chapter. Let's see.
योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां समे युक्ततमो मतः ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासूपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे आत्मसंयमयोगो नाम षष्ठोऽध्यायः
Jai.
And all of yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. This is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
So here in the last verse, Krishna is establishing of all these yogis, who is the yogi of the highest caliber? Who is the greatest of them all? So Krishna is saying, of all the yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service. So who is engaged in loving devotional service? It's only a bhakti yogi, because bhakti means seva. One who's not doing loving transcendental service, then he is not into bhakti yoga. So Krishna is saying that of all these yogis, he who is worshipping me in a transcendental loving service with great faith, he is most intimately united with me in yoga. So he is the most intimately connected to the Lord, because he realizes God, or he realizes Krishna as a person, not only as a light, or only as an energy, or only as the super soul, but he realizes that God is a person. So that person, that yogi is the highest of all. So here you see Krishna is establishing the superiority of Bhakti Yoga over all other yoga practices. And this marks the beginning of the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Bhakti section, which we will see in detail if Krishna so sanctions. But here, let's see, Srila Baladev Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, he is one of the acharyas in our disciplic succession, and he explains Krishna's words. He says, he writes in his commentary, although there is a relative grading of superiority and inferiority among the tapasvis and so on, still they are all inferior to my devotee, in the same way as all ordinary mountains, both tall ones and short ones, are inferior to a mountain made of gold. So if there is a mountain made of gold, anytime it is superior to any other mountain, irrespective of whether it is short or long, tall or short. But is there anyone greater than the yogi? The question is answered in the words beginning yoginam. In the ascending hierarchy of yoga, there are many karma yogis. Better than all of them is the one who has risen to the level of dhyana. He is properly engaged, yukta. But one who has ascended samadhi is even better engaged, yukta tara. And one who has achieved bhakti yoga in the form of hearing, chanting, and so on is the best, yukta tama. So see, in Sanskrit, you have three words, yukta, yukta tara, and yukta tama. Good, better, and best. Here, when Krishna describes a bhakti yogi, he uses the word yukta tama. So he's saying that a bhakti yogi is yukta tama. He's the best. And in these other shlokas, if you see 6.8, 6.18, 5.23, here when Krishna is describing mind control, especially mind control, he uses the word yukta. See, here he's using the word yukta. Here he's talking about seeing everything, pebbles, stones, and gold as the same. He's situated in transcendence. And here in 6.18, he's talking about somebody who's devoid of all material desires, right? Here also he's using the word yukta. And 5.23, again, he's talking about tolerating the urges of the material senses, and checking the force of desire and anger. Here also he's talking about the word, he uses the word yukta. So when he's talking about mind control and those things, he's using the word yukta. But when he's talking about bhakti yoga, he's using the word yukta tama, which means it is the best. Why? Because when we take to bhakti yoga, automatically everything else is achieved. Mind control is a byproduct of chanting the holy name, is a byproduct of engaging in devotional service. We don't have to artificially endeavor to control our mind. That automatically happens as a byproduct when we take to devotional service. And when we say devotional service, we know that the most important are Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. Just as how if a child is holding on to a toy and the toy is very dear to the child does not want to give up the toy. How will you make the child? If you just go and take the toy away from the child will start crying. The child is not willing to give you the toy. But if you give the child a bigger and a better toy, now the child, in order to take the other bigger toy, he will leave the other toy that he's already holding. Why? Because he has got something bigger and better. So when we give the mind better sense engagement, then automatically the lower propensities will be given up. When we take to chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam, chanting and hearing the holy name, which is better sense engagement for the mind, then automatically lower propensities of material sense enjoyment, that will automatically be taken care of. It will automatically go. We don't have to separately endeavor. That is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. Srila Prabhupada very nicely summarizes. He says, the culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of Bhakti in Bhakti Yoga. Yoga actually means Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are progressions towards the destination of Bhakti Yoga. So we saw the yoga ladder, how there is a progression from the karma, then we have Sakama Karma Yoga, then we have Nishkama Karma Yoga, then we have Jnana Yoga, then we have Dhyana Yoga, and then we have Bhakti Yoga. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that all other yoga systems are progression towards the destination of Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma Yoga without fruitive results is the beginning of this path. When Karma Yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation. So as we go higher on in that yoga ladder, two things increases. One is knowledge and the other is renunciation. Okay. So when Karma Yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called Jnana Yoga. When Jnana Yoga increases in meditation on the super soul by different physical processes and the mind is on him, it is called Ashtanga Yoga. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga Yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, it is called Bhakti Yoga, the culmination. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal. But to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. So why has Krishna taken time to explain all these other yoga systems? Because in order to analyze Bhakti Yoga, we have to understand the other yoga systems. That's why he has explained all these other things. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name: Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, or Dhyana Yogi, Raja Yogi, Hatha Yogi, etc. So, of course, there is a progression from Karma Yoga right up to Bhakti Yoga, but one may choose to remain at that particular yoga system. One may choose not to progress towards the other yoga system. Why? Because we all have our free will, right? We all have our free will. So at any point of time, a yogi can decide to remain on that particular rung of the yoga ladder. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yoga. So if you come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is understood by default that you have already crossed all other yoga systems. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga. Just as when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. So Bhakti Yoga is a culmination of all yoga practices. Then Srila Prabhupada explains, it is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shyama Sundara, who is as beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower garlanded. So a bhakti yogi, whom does he meditate on? A bhakti yogi meditates on this form of Krishna, this beautiful form of Krishna called Shyama Sundara. Illuminating all sides in his gorgeous lustre, which is called the Brahma Jyoti. He incarnates in different forms such as Rama, Narsimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he descends like a human being. So remember, he descends like a human being. He's like a human being, but he is not an ordinary human being. He is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, as the son of Mother Yashoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudev. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. Okay, so here you have a summary of the Dhyana Yoga. You can read it when I share the slides in the group. That note, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we come to the end of chapter number 6, titled Dhyana Yoga. Okay, so we have a lot of hands raised. Let's see. Shivani?
Mataji, Hare Krishna, Pranam. I missed when you were explaining about Jnani. Can you please explain again? I didn't understand.
What about a jnani?
Who is a Jnani?
A jnana yogi, he leaves home, he goes to the forest, and he very heavily focuses on the study of the Shastra. Okay, very heavily, intensively, he is studying, and then he acquires knowledge, and then he engages in deep meditation on the Brahman effulgence of the Lord. And if he attains perfection, he realizes the Brahman feature of the Lord. That is a jnana yoga.
That's a Jnani Yoga. Okay. And the other thing you said, I think Jnani Yoga. So Jnani and Jnani Yoga is same.
No, a jnani is one who acquires knowledge, but there is no tinge of bhakti. There is no element of bhakti. There is no element of devotion. There is no element of wanting to unite with the Lord. Because at least a jnani, he is meditating on the Brahman effulgence. So he is partially, it's a partial realization of the absolute truth. No, because Krishna is realized, or the absolute truth is realized in 3 features. Brahman effulgence, then you have Paramatma, and you have Bhagavan. So a jnani has no realization of any feature of the absolute truth, because there is no yoga, there is no word yogi connected to that. That's a jnani. But a jnana yogi is someone who meditates on the Brahman effulgence, which is a partial manifestation of the absolute truth. That's the difference.
Then what does Jnani do then?
Jnana yogi is one who practices jnana yoga.
No, she means to say Jnana Yoga. She's asking about
Jnana or jnana, same thing only. Only pronunciation is different.
No, but one is doing focusing on the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, right?
That's jnana yoga or
Yeah,
jnana
and
yogi. Yes.
the other one is?
The other one is a jnani who is acquiring knowledge, but that knowledge is not connected to any kind of realization or any feature of the absolute truth.
So then what knowledge is that?
Any knowledge that is not connecting him to the absolute. It can be
Okay. You see, Shivani, look at the word here, Jnani Yogi and Dhyana Yogi. There are 2 words used here. You see? Look at this word, Jnani Yogi and Dhyana Yogi. You see in the paragraph at the end of the sentence, couple of sentences above?
Yes.
Okay. So she's explaining to you about this Jnana Yogi and Dhyana Yogi. One sits down and meditates on Brahma Paramatma. Basically, they are partially doing devotional service, not completely. And the other person is not completely. They're just doing meditation. They have left the home. They're doing devotional service. They're not doing devotional service. It has nothing to do with devotional service. It just has to do with meditation.
Okay, 1 minute. Your question is jnana, between jnana yogi and a jnani, or between a jnana yogi and a dhyana yogi?
first one that you said.
The difference between a jnana yogi and a jnani.
Jnani.
That's your question, right?
Yes.
So a jnani acquires knowledge, but not the knowledge that will connect him to the Supreme. It can be any knowledge that does not connect him to the Supreme.
You mean to say that means reading, taking all the knowledge, but not
But there is no element of bhakti. There is no tinge of
Okay.
desire to unite with the Lord.
anybody else, or explaining to somebody who needs it, or what, like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Okay.
Anyway, in the next class, what we are going to do is we are going to have a summary of the first 6 chapters. And we will also see the yoga ladder. We will revisit these yoga systems. We will explain all the yoga systems with other charts. And we will explain karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga before we can start with chapter number 7. Okay, so next class will be like a summary of what we have seen so far. And we will see 3 other yoga ladders before we start chapter 7. So I think there you will get more clarity. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Divya, you have your hand raised.
She left. She's not here.
Okay, Harman.
Yes. So Hare Krishna Mataji, I had a question. Why does the Bhagavad Gita reveal Bhakti Yoga before like the middle section? As you always say, if I'm not mistaken, pardon me if I'm mistaken, the middle, better said, like the middle chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are like the most important, or the ones that have the most content. So why is it not revealed there instead of now, that is revealed at the end of chapter 6 in this case?
Because end of chapter 6 marks the beginning of the middle section. The middle section begins with chapter 7. No, first 6 chapters, middle 6 chapters. So in the last shloka, Krishna is establishing the superiority of Bhakti Yoga. So he's laying the foundation. And now he's going to talk in detail about Bhakti Yoga. It's not that, see, all 18 chapters deal with Bhakti Yoga. In the first 6 chapters, Krishna is saying how karma leads to Bhakti. In the last 6 chapters, he's telling how jnana leads to Bhakti. In the middle 6 chapters, he's focusing exclusively on Bhakti. It's like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Okay, Shivani, your hand is still raised. You have another question or?
No, sorry.
Okay, anything else we need to discuss?
No.
Okay, then see you all next Saturday if Krishna so sanctions. As I said, we will see all the yoga systems, and we can also dedicate the class to questions and answers if you have questions. Yeah, Divya, you have a question?
You can hear me, Sanat?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, my question was regarding that question 31 for the exam paper. Remember, I had asked you last night also.
Yeah.
So I've gone through the purport, but I don't get any of the options over there. Like,
Okay, so I'll have to check the question paper. I will answer you on your WhatsApp because I have to check the question. I don't have it now. Okay.
okay.
I will check it out and I'll get back to you. All right. Okay then. So take care and have a nice weekend in Krishna consciousness. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vaivaccha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot. Okay, I have something to say. Aja here, she lost her father. He passed away on the 19th of December, and his funeral is on the 30th of December. So he passed away in Edmonton, and we would like to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, all of us together, so that he can achieve a higher destination. Definitely he will be benefited, because now Aja is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. She told me she's chanting. So definitely he will be benefited because he has a daughter who's chanting the holy name. But let's chant the Hare Krishna mantra once and dedicate it to him so that he can get a higher destination.
Main
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. जी सनम माता जी की जय, श्री भागवतम, श्री
जय।
भागवत गीता की जय,
जय।
छई पताका महाराज की जय. Thank you माता जी, कोटि कोटि दंडवत
जय।
प्रणाम. श्रील प्रभुपाद, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your deep devotional association. कोटि
Thank
कोटि
you.
दंडवत प्रणाम.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Mataji.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.